by far the number one question I get when it comes to Teslas or other EVs for that matter has to do almost everything exclusively with charging and time management. A lot of people ask me questions regarding charging, so we're going to talk a little bit about the charging and the time management aspect of how you charge your vehicle. Let's get right into it. First and foremost, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I do and how I can make this work, and what I did before I even got to that point of genuinely purchasing the vehicle, making that decision that saying I'm going to give up my gas car in exchange for my EV. One of the key things that I had to look into had to do exclusively with the amount of time it's going to take me to charge and how I'm going to use that time in accordance to my life. Obviously, there's going to be a scenario here where no matter what vehicle you have, it needs the fuel to run. For electric vehicles, Teslas or otherwise, that's something that can take up a great deal of your time if you are not really well organized. Here are some of the tricks I've done. First and foremost, understanding why you're buying the EV to start with. What is it about your EV? What is it about that particular car that you really like and you're willing to give up your gas-powered car in exchange for a EV? And that's something that's really, really important, and so you have to think about that too. For me, the decision was pretty straightforward due to the fact that I travel a lot during my days, running errands, doing work, and I love to travel on my spare time. I love to take mini road trips or long road trips. That was a huge deciding factor on this. But that kind of got me into a very interesting problem. I started thinking, much like a lot of you are if you're watching this video, with regards to charging. Well, how much range do I have on this vehicle, and how is this going to work for charging my vehicle? And what am I going to do for that time while it's charging? Today, I want to show you guys a really good example of this. Last night, I came back from quite a decent sized trip, and I decided not to charge at home at all and just come to a supercharger this morning. The reason for that was I kind of wanted to show you guys what happens when you're down to around the 30% mark, and as you guys can tell, the mileage on the car is really low. The percentage is very low. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:10, and I'm gonna punch it up all the way to 100% because I'm gonna go to basically another mini road trip. By the way, that is the only time you want to charge up your car to 100% is if you're going to take a road trip. Otherwise, it's really not worth it. I usually stick to about 90%. How long is this going to take me? Approximately an hour and 5 minutes on a Tesla urban charger. This is not a supercharger, this is an urban charger, which means that I only get about 70 kilowatts. That's the maximum charge rate. That, however, works out in my benefit. I could have gone to a supercharger and get more than double that, but I decided to go to an urban charger because I needed the time. So what do I need the time for? 1, to record this video. 2, I'm working on a little bit of a project right now, so I want to finish up that project, and I use my time wisely here in order to make that work to my benefit. That's basically the best way to explain it. You see, when I first decided to go for a EV, there was a big question with regards to how am I going to use this time. I was fully aware that there's going to be time involved. What am I going to do for that, let's say 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour during the time that my vehicle is charging. And I had to think of this in a daily scenario, and I had to think of this on a trip scenario. And so I broke apart both of them. And the way I did that is I thought about my daily. What do I do? How much mileage do I put on daily on the car? And for me, I talk in percentages. I switch my car over to percentage as well. I don't care much about the miles or kilometers, depending on where you are. I care more about the percentage. What percentage is my car in at the time, at any given time? And for me, it's a lot easier to leave it in percentage, basically because everything else is percentage. So yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. What did I do? I thought of 2 things. 1, if it's going to take me about an hour, am I going to be able to utilize that time and fit something else in during that time? Now, of course, I could, if you have hardware 3, you can watch YouTube, you can watch Netflix, you can do all that fun stuff. But for me, I sometimes want that hour to do something else. And so before I even purchased the car, I started thinking, what am I going to do during that time? And I realized I can utilize my time very, very well, depending on, obviously this depends greatly on what you do for a living, what you do as a hobby, but you can use this time to, well, advance, move ahead. And I look at it as kind of like the best time management scenario. And in life, you should have a time management scenario regardless of what you're doing. Time is very, very valuable. It's more valuable than anything else you own, anything else you have. So using time to your benefit is very much a importance. I always run into a scenario where I always try and run home as fast as possible to get things done. And this is usually on my daily trips. I go to work, I finish my stuff, and then of course I have my other hobbies, be it YouTube, which is pretty much a full-time job, or be it, other hobbies that I may have. Well, for YouTube especially, I realized this works really well. Before I even had my Tesla, I do have a motorcycle channel, so and a few other channels, but I realized I can do my scripting, I can come up with ideas, I can work through the process during the time I'm charging. It becomes a great benefit to me to utilize time while I'm charging. I am relaxed, the car is warm, or AC in the summer, doesn't matter. And while the car is charging, I can utilize my time to prepare for the next step. During the days, every day I have certain things that I want to complete. And so I use those things, I schedule it in, especially for the time it takes to charge. But then you think that I would want to go to something like a supercharger, get it over with in half an hour, and I'm done. I could do that, but there's no benefit for me, because in half an hour I happen to know it's not enough for me to set up my next idea for my next video, or could do pretty much anything. Half an hour is a very short time if you're doing more complex things. There's also the simple fact that if you're a YouTuber, you typically end up, especially since I have this channel, I get out and I talk a lot to other Tesla owners. I kind of pick their brain. I want to figure out what they do, what they don't do, what they like, what they don't like, just so I can bring you guys better content. Find the best way you can utilize your time. Find the best way that you can make the time work for you, and make sure that the time is relevant to what your needs are. By having an EV, going to a supercharger or going to any type of charger, you have to figure out how to use that time wisely. If you're going to go, let's say, to a mall and watch a movie, well, it's going to be a little bit over 2 hours that you're going to be basically there. Well, you can still plug in and you still get some time out of that. Most of the time when let's say you're going shopping, you're taking your girlfriend or your boyfriend or husband and wife, whatever, kids, you guys are going to go to the mall. Go to a mall that actually has a charger and charge your vehicle there. This is very important because now you're killing two birds with one stone, essentially. It's kind of like somebody having to fill up your tank of gas without you even being there. It makes a lot more sense that way. Now, there is another solution. A lot of people will obviously bring up, well, there's home charging. You see, in my case, for example, when I first bought the car, I used to live in a condo, and the condo itself, I was in the process of selling my condo. I no longer wanted to live in a condo. I didn't want to deal with the strata. That's a whole different story. But I was in the process of selling the condo. I didn't have a plug in my stall, and I didn't want to go through the whole permission aspect, getting permission, paying for somebody to put in a charger, and going through that process. So I was using superchargers exclusively at that time, and I did that for about, I would say about a year, close to a year. And again, managing time, I never had an issue because I was able to run out, do my things on my way home, maybe stop, or, and I don't have to charge all the time. So maybe I went every second day, every third day, in some cases even every fourth day, depending on how busy I was. Once I sold my condo, on the other hand, I moved into a rental building. And this is very important for me because I didn't want to live in a condo. I'm not even sure I want to live in a rental place yet. I'm looking at possibly buying a house later. But what ended up happening is now I'm in a situation where I'm in a rental building. So I started thinking, okay, well, why don't I just talk to the leasing agents before I sign any lease? Make sure I get a stall that has a actual plug, just a regular household plug. right by my stall and see if I can have that part of my rent. And sure enough, I was able to pull that off. In fact, I have two. So great, that helps me out because now I can manage my charge throughout the night. You get a little bit, not too much, maybe about anywhere between 6 and 10%, 6 to 15%, depending on obviously when you get home to plug it in and what time you're leaving in the morning. But that could be more often than not more than enough for what you need. I live in a very hilly area, so it's always a constant up and down, up and down. And so I use a little bit more than you probably would if you're living in a more flat area where you don't have very steep hills. But for me, that plug happens to work out really well. That is really important to understand. But once again, it comes back to using your time. And regardless of where I am, regardless of what I do, I will go to a charger and I use that time wisely to benefit me. In other words, the time it takes to charge is not taken away from me. I'm not wasting that time. Obviously with EVs other than Teslas, you can run into a little bit of a different scenario, mainly because the Tesla's fast charging network is really good, and this obviously applies greatly to going on trips. By having the Tesla network, the trips are unbelievably amazing. And so once again, how do I use my time very wisely when I am on trips? The way I do that is I literally stop and look and explore my surroundings. I want to see my surroundings. I want to see where these chargers are. I want to see what's in the neighborhood. When I take a trip, I don't just take a trip to go from point A to point B. I take a trip for the experience of everything that I can possibly see. Talking to the locals, going to local restaurants, maybe stopping at little sightseeing tours. But you'd be surprised how many of those things you're gonna find around a Tesla supercharger. The bottom line is, manage your time. You don't need to complain about how much time you're wasting at a charger. You just need to figure out how to utilize your charging time. Now, in the beginning of the video, I showed you basically what my stance was, what percentage I was at, and what time it was when I started charging here. And during this whole time the vehicle was charging, I'm getting things done, and I am not losing any time out of my life. I am literally utilizing time that I have the best possible way I can. Okay, so now we're approaching the end of the video. I figured, okay, I'm gonna give you guys a quick update, just like I should. So we've been here for about an hour. I responded to just a crap ton of comments on YouTube because you guys love to comment, and I went through a number of processes of what I wanted to do. Currently the vehicle is doing at 91% charge. That is a really good thing because that gives me a chance to get to my next destination, but it's a little bit shy of the 100% that I was looking for. It's about 9% shy, 8% shy. And the key reason for that is because as it's winding down, it's always going to add a little bit more time for that last 10%. So for the end of the video, what are we looking at? Let me show you. So there we are. Currently we are at 91%. And as far as time goes, we are at 9:14. So, yep, we're doing really good. Now, I am ready to move on to my next place. I got a lot of work done. I got a lot of things done. And this is why time management is very important for everybody to understand. I could stay another 20 minutes or so, mainly because I still have a few things to do, but I want to move on to the next place. And the next time I charge the car, then I'll probably go through the process of finishing up some of my other things. In the meantime, I don't need more than this. This is plenty, but kind of gives you guys an idea. If you use time properly, you will never run into problems. Understanding that having an EV requires you to have a better time management in your life. That's it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel, and I have another video coming out shortly. Well, a few videos coming out shortly. So till then, drive safe, everyone.